Wasted money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. But time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Welcome back. If you're joining us for the second of our back-to-back revision sessions, thank you for taking time out on a Friday evening. The previous session we did government failure. We had an amazing set of answers on a key topic. I think if you use government failure in your micro answers, you'll get good credit, particularly if it's relevant. This session, half an hour, if it's okay with you, half an hour on economic efficiency and welfare. Again, super important economic concepts. If you bring those concepts into your answers, I'll give you some examples in the next half an hour or so. You'll get some great credit on the analysis, and also it'll help the evaluation. Let's kick off. Welcome to those who are, thanks Georgia, we appreciate that. You know, it's a bit like a Labrador, isn't it? You go away for half an hour and the Labrador thinks you've been away for a month or a whole year. Let's crack on. I've got 5 multiple choice questions for you, and these are quite challenging, some of them. Diagram shows the average cost, marginal cost and average revenue, marginal revenue for a monopoly. Question is, at which point will allocative efficiency be achieved? This is a tough question to start with. To give you a helping hand, it's either A, B, C, or D. So what do we think? Post your answers in the chat window, and the answers are coming through straight away. I'll try and pick out some answers as we go through. Yeah, Tom and Caitlin, Eleanor, Jacob, lots of Jacobs, Matthew, they've all got the answer. It's coming up on the screen. The answer is indeed D. It's a natural monopoly, isn't it? Falling average cost curve. And if you price at marginal cost, then it's where average revenue meets marginal cost. So well done on that one. Super start. Crucially there, of course, and this you make a loss, wouldn't you? Because the price P4 is lower than average cost. So if you impose average marginal cost pricing, you might impose a loss on the business. Ultimately, taxpayers would pay. Here's the next question coming up. What might reduce dynamic efficiency in an economy? These are all past paper questions, by the way. So what might reduce dynamic efficiency in an economy? What do we think? Are people asking about allocative efficiency? I will talk you through that in a second or two. Answers coming through. The Riddler, Jacob, John. Hussein's got a great answer in there. All saying C. Here's the answer coming up. Well done, everybody. Yeah, I just want to make a point here. Shareholder dividends. It's interesting that lots of businesses are using high profits. You can make a case for saying windfall profits to buy back shares. Shell, $4 billion share buyback just the other day, and of course that's designed to increase the share price and take greater control back from maybe institutional shareholders. But you could maybe use that as a really good evaluation point. That Shell are making high profits, but if they're engaging in share buybacks, is that money genuinely being used to drive research and innovation in the market? Charles makes a point. In 2017, US firms spent more on share buybacks than R&D. Charles, that is an unbelievable. If that's true, I'm sure it's right. US firms spent more on share buybacks than R&D. If I was in the session now, live at the Chief Collective, I'd be thinking, bring it on. I'm having that as part of my revision notes. Wow. Georgina says, can I do a revision session on labour markets? We did actually at East, Georgina. It's available on if you go to tutor2.net/live and just choose live streams and replays. So I'm still reeling from that superb bit of application there from Charles. Absolutely fantastic. Here's my third question coming up. In an economy, no one can be made better off without making someone else worse off. What can you deduce from this? Now, when I tested this with my students this morning, a few of them got the wrong answer, which is slightly worrying. Oh, Charles got it from tutor to you. Oh, there we go, Charles. So it must be right. What do we think? What can you deduce from that phrase? No one can be made better off without making someone else worse off. What do we think? The Riddler, Amira, Ollie, Safa, Charlie, Jacob, Ozzy and Alistair have all gone for, I think, certainly Ozzy has, for the right answer, Robbie Thompson, one of our great contributors. Here's the answer coming up. It is indeed D. Now, I've highlighted C in a different colour. Quite a few students, my students today, thought it was C. The income inequality is socially optimal. You can't deduce that from that point. You can have an allocative efficiency, but that's not necessarily the same as a socially optimum distribution of income, because that's a value judgment. What you think is an optimal level of inequality is open to interpretation. And that's the joy of the subject. People have different views on different topics. Next question, 2 to go. A government deregulates. I like this question. A government deregulates several industries with the aim of increasing allocative and productive efficiency. Which of those changes makes it less likely that the government will meet its aim? In other words, potential government failure, I suppose, linking back to the previous topic. Just while we're getting the answers to come through, SML Tech says, can you mention macro points in paper 1? Yes, you can. You have to be slightly cautious, slightly careful. It's probably better for the synoptic paper, isn't it? But I would probably just be on the side of caution there. Loads of answers coming through from our great contributors, the Team Collective. Most people thinking it's B, and indeed, I think the answer is indeed B. Yeah, merger and takeovers would increase concentration, monopoly power, and in theory, lead to a loss of efficiency. Well done. One more question. Now, there's loads of curves here. Diagram shows the market for good that creates a negative externality in production, but no positive externalities. So SMB equals MPB. Current consumption OQ1, government's asked to tax. What size of tax would result in a socially efficient allocation of resources? What do we think? What tax vertical distance between all of those different supply curves would, yeah, Jim making the point that the business that's far more complicated. I mean, this, there's not enough curves. You can always add them in, of course, if you want. What do we think? A lot of people saying B, and I think that's really good. Well done, everybody. The answer coming up, it is B. Yeah, you've got to increase the, haven't you? You've got to increase the private cost by the external cost. So I've drawn a couple of, well, I haven't drawn, I've just used a mouse, but that vertical distance between S2 and S1 is enough to optimize, to internalize the externality. Rack says B, the tax must equal the marginal external cost. And who are we to disagree with that excellent answer? Well done, Rax, on that. Okay, great stuff. Can I just, if it's okay with you, can I just literally say something about efficiency and just talk you through? In your micro paper, in the paper on the 18th of May, those of you taking the exams this year, you will always, and I want to emphasize this point, please, everybody who's with us today, you will always get stronger analysis marks by introducing efficiency and welfare concepts into your answer. The top students, higher grade students, will always try to, at some point, bring efficiency into their answers. It also helps the evaluation because you might be able to talk about one type of efficiency in analysis, but bring another type of efficiency into your discussion. I think when you're looking at markets, be aware it's a case-by-case approach. So what, policy effects in whatever the market for fizzy drinks will be different to the market for whatever other products. So when you're discussing interventions, just be aware of the context. Think about the industry. So, for example, the nationalisation of the water industry is very different to nationalising train services or nationalising telecoms, for example. Make sure you can comment on the likely consequences for efficiency of different market structures, whether competition, oligopoly, monopoly, and so on and so forth. Okay, moving on to the next slide. I just want to quickly ask a generic question. Can you type in your answer? What's your best definition, please, of economic efficiency? Have a go. Yeah, quite a few are talking about minimising waste, and his key point, the social optimum point of allocation of scarce resources. And lots of you bring in different types of efficiency into the answer. Here's my generic answer, conscious of time here, so we're going to crack on. Efficiency is basically about about a society, a community, if you like, an economy, making optimal use of scarce resources to help satisfy changing needs and wants. And of course, within that, it's making the best use of what we have, and hopefully over time, maximizing social welfare or avoiding inefficiencies which lead to a loss of social welfare. Now, one of the big ones, next slide, please, Jim, is allocative efficiency. Just very quickly want to explain. Some people say, well, why is it that allocative efficiency is achieved where price equals marginal cost? I think this slide explains it beautifully. So if you bear with me, let me explain it. Allocative efficiency is where you maximize the total welfare of actually consumers and producers. Have a look at this diagram. You've got the downward sloping demand curve, which is a marginal private benefit curve. You've got an upward sloping supply curve, which is a marginal private cost curve. So at the intersection, marginal private benefit equals marginal private cost. Of course, if there are externalities, you draw a different diagram. That is also an equilibrium between supply and demand, at point S, and the price, P, reflects the marginal cost of supply. And as a result, that triangle of consumer plus producer surplus is at a maximum level. So competitive markets which reach an equilibrium where the price equals the marginal cost maximize that kind of triangle, consumer plus producer surplus. So that is why it's allocative efficient. And Tony says allocative efficiency, consumers receive the products, the goods and services they want at the given price. And that price, critically, to add to Tony's point, reflects the marginal cost of supply. Of course, a monopoly, well, you don't get allocative efficiency necessarily in the market. Again, if you want me to go through that again, I do have videos on different types of efficiency if you want to go through things in a little bit more detail. So allocative efficiency is basically defined as when nobody can be made better off without making somebody worse off. It's where the value you place on the product is reflected in the price that people are willing and able to pay, and it reflects the marginal cost of supply. Now, this is true, the next slide summarizes this point. This is true, by the way, when there are no externalities. So allocative efficiency in competitive markets is where price equals marginal cost. The price I'm paying for my sandwich, or whatever it is, reflects the marginal cost of making that sandwich. Of course, in most markets are not perfectly competitive, okay? So we don't end up at an allocatively efficient point. Here's my next question, a challenge to the group, way over 200 people now live in the stream. Can you please give me 2 reasons, or one if you want, why allocative efficiency is unlikely to be achieved in a monopoly oligopoly? What can this fantastic group come up with? Have a go. Okay, nice answer there from Charles. Firms will limit output in order to reach the profit maximization level. So they squeeze output to where MC meets MR, drives the price up. Of course, it depends on the elasticity of demand. And the gain of producer surplus is, so we're making one group better off, but you're making another group even worse off. So the gain in producer surplus is less than the loss of consumer surplus. Nice one here from our regular contributor, iBoy 101. Collusive oligopolies and monopolies have price making power. Oh yeah, what a lovely bit of application there. Asda colluding with Dairy Crest to fix high prices, price greater than marginal cost, leading to allocative inefficiency. Fantastic answer. Just reading through some of them as they come through. By the way, thank you for taking the time to post in a minute. It's not easy. There's some absolutely brilliant answers coming through. Here's my modest attempt. First of all, yeah, a lot of you use this great point. Monopoly firms can use their market power to raise price above marginal cost, above average cost, to generate super normal profits. And of course, quite a few have mentioned there. Millie, I think, mentioned the idea. Oh, sorry, Millie asked me what type of sandwich I like. I'll come back to that. Barriers to entry, such as patent protection, allow those excess profits to be persistent in the long run. And a couple of you did talk about oligopoly, and Kelly, I think, had a nice point about oligopoly. It's common for firms to collude to increase profit. A really good answer there from Kelly. This increases barriers to entry, limiting the amount of choice for consumers, leading to allocative inefficiency. The collusion diagram is a great one to show where price is persistently above marginal and average cost. Millie asked me what's my favorite sandwich filling. Great question. I mean, do post your answers in the chat window, by the way. Probably chicken and avocado. Is that a little bit too, I don't know, chicken and avocado would be my favorite sandwich filling, Millie. But do feel free to post your favorite fillings in the chat window. We'll keep an eye on those. By the way, as you know, the sandwich was invented by the Earl of Sandwich. It would have been a bit silly if he'd invented the toasty, wouldn't it, really? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Can you give me, as we watch out for our sandwich choices, this is a great question, by the way. I asked this to my students this morning. We've got some top answers. Explain why an increase in contestability is likely to improve allocative efficiency. 60 seconds. Have a go. Yeah, there's Malachi's point. We'll come back to Caitlin's point in a second. Malachi arguing the entry of new firms increases market supply. Visualize that on the diagram, and that, of course, drives prices down towards a competitive level. Caitlin makes this point. Contestability means it's easier for firms to enter the market. Low sunk cost there, Caitlin. This will improve allocative efficiency as competition is higher. Prices will be more competitive. If you want to bring in some concepts here, the cross-price elasticity of demand goes up because there are more close substitutes, and that's what tends to drive the price down. Lovely answer here from Violet, one of our new contributors. More firms means more non-price competition. Firms differentiating their goods. That would probably lead to a change in dynamic rather than allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency is a little bit more to do with price relative to cost. It's still efficiency, it's a great point, but probably just linking a little bit more to allocative efficiency. Here's my answer. Increased competition puts downward pressure on prices towards marginal cost. They don't have to get as far as that. It's just an improvement in efficiency. As firms strive to offer better deals, they face actual competition and, critically, the threat of hit and run competition. That is super important. Let's move on. Oh, sorry, Millie posted her favourite sandwich, which is pretty impressive. In fact, there was more. I'm not sure you have enough bread for the sandwich. I don't know if we can find it. It was an amazing sandwich. A lot of people agreeing with me that chicken and avocado is undoubtedly the best sandwich filling. So that's great news. Here we go. Yeah, coronation chicken with mango, chutney, and spinach. Wow, that's almost like a power sandwich to supercharge your revision. That'd be absolutely amazing. Incredible. Khalil asked me who he thinks is going to win the title race. He didn't say which league. Okay, I'm assuming you mean League 2, which has already gone to Leighton Orient. Harrogate Town just missed out, by the way, on the playoffs this year. Premier League, I went to see Man City play Fulham the other week. Can't see beyond really Man City winning the league title, and deservedly so. They're a class act. According to Safa, ketchup sandwich is the best snack. We thought we'd try and ketchup sandwich is the best snack. Just ketchup on its own. That is staggering. Anyway, interesting. 60 seconds. What's meant by productive efficiency? Have a go. Yeah, lovely. Our great friend Lionel Messi comes in there with the firm's average cost. You move towards the lowest point of the long average cost. Everybody's got this. Bang on this. Well done, everybody. You're trying to minimize your cost per unit. Jagveer says productive efficiency is producing the largest output using the lowest inputs. I like that definition, by the way. I really like that one. If you can maximize output per input, you can get close to the lowest point of your average cost curve. That's a really good definition. Here's mine coming up on the screen. So when firms minimize wastage, it's achieved at the output, which minimizes the unit cost, either in the short run, depends which time period you've got, or the long run. KB says, Geoff, is the minimum efficient scale and productive efficiency the same? The answer is yes. In the long run, if you reach the minimum efficient scale, you have got to your point of long run productive efficiency. Loads of good answers there. James Hendry saying using specialization and division of labor to the maximum before the law of diminishing returns sets in, getting towards that low point on the average cost curve. Absolutely superb. Great stuff. Jacob says, Geoff, what's your marginal utility for using for chicken and avocado? Well, it depends on your first one, doesn't it? If it's your first sandwich, you've got a very high marginal utility. But of course, you'd expect diminishing marginal returns, wouldn't you? By the way, I did once have a very, very funny joke about the law of diminishing returns, but I won't tell it again. It's just not as funny second or third time around. Let's move on. Oh yeah, this is a great question. Can you give me one reason for and one reason against why a monopoly might be more productively efficient than competition? This will test you. What can you come up with? Yeah, some nice answers coming through about economies of scale, about natural monopolies. I think Neil asked a question whether allocative efficiency was the same as sales maximization. Not quite, Neil. They're quite similar, or quite close. Allocative efficiency is where AR meets MC, price equals marginal cost. Sales max is where average revenue meets average cost on a diagram. They're often quite similar, but not quite the same. Some great answers coming through. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, on the one hand, a monopoly might be able to achieve lower average cost. Now, quite a few said economies of scale. Fine. Add in the word internal economies of scale. Just adding one word improves your answer next week. Yeah. For example, Amazon has purchasing economies from their monopsony power, which lowers low and average cost. A bit of such as seasoning. So internal scale economies, purchasing economies, monopsony power. The more you can add in these little extra words to your answer, your exam script will just look better. The examiners will think this student knows what they're talking about. Almost police in terms of quality. But on the other hand, monopolies face little actual or threatened competition, and therefore there's something called X inefficiency. Cost can drift up, waste of resources, expense accounts, first-class travel, and that's just German tutored to you. So those inefficiencies can drive fixed costs up and a higher average cost because of the absence of competition. Moving on. Okay, so, oh yeah, this is a really good one. Can you please explain what's meant by natural monopoly? And if you have time, give me your best example. Have a go. Wow, fantastic. Natural monopoly as well. The sunk cost and economies of scale are so large that it only makes sense for there to be one firm. The water industry has answered there. I think Georgina had a fantastic answer that came through about James's answer whether a massive amount of fixed capital required. National grid. This means it's only efficient to have one firm, and they're unlikely to suffer from the law of diminishing returns. Obviously, it's a long run thing, isn't it? Yeah, really good. The Riddler came in with a particularly important point. Here we go. Here's George's answer. It's a great answer. When one firm is the only one that can fully exploit, Georgia, the internal economies of scale. So everybody can exploit the external economies of scale. Here's the Riddler. And welcome back to one of our, well, fantastic contributors. When the ideal number of firms in the industry from a cost perspective is one, e.g., the Sicilian Mafia. Yes, indeed. If you cross the Sicilian Mafia with an economist, you end up, when you get an offer you can't understand. I'm not going to tell the diminishing returns joke. I've never really told it, but it just isn't funny. Second, third, or fourth time around. Here we go. Here's my two answers. Now, I just want to make a really key point. Sorry, what's meant by a natural monopoly? When the minimum efficient scale is super high relative to the size of the market, there's really only room for one firm, as Georgia said, to fully exploit the scale economies. And I think if you get a question on natural monopoly, you need to draw that diagram, obviously with the average cost falling, but bring in minimum efficient scale, very, very high. Khalil says, what is the Sicilian mafia? Well, I'm afraid I'm not allowed to tell the answer for my own personal safety. Can you have regional natural monopolies? Yes, you can, including regional water monopolies. Quite a few of you chose those, which is a good example. Here's my two examples. I want to make a really key distinction here, super important for maybe paper one on Thursday. Natural monopolies tend to be network industries, don't they? Grid, national grids, electricity and gas distribution, the water industry, national rail. Now, those are natural monopolies, but actually, if you then go beneath the surface, the service provider doesn't have to be a natural monopoly. So, OVO Energy or Octopus, many of those new firms have gone, but they're still around. Some of them are still around. They are the final mile service providers. There's competition there. National Rail, of course, is a natural monopoly, Network Rail, but LNER or TransPennine, whatever it is, Southern Rail, as you know, yesterday, TransPennine was nationalised in the UK. SML text, should natural monopolies be nationalised? Well, there's the 25 more essay question for you. Perhaps we can all help SML with their answers. Another time, I think we have done, by the way, we have done a video on nationalisation versus privatisation. Almost everybody, a couple of things to look at just to finish off. Let's look at our third type of efficiency to round off. What is meant, please, by dynamic efficiency? Have a go. Here we go. There's John's answer. Reinvesting the profits in R&D and better work practices to provide a better product at a lower price. And then a little bit of Schumpeterian economics, creative destruction. Loads of great answers, by the way. There's a related question coming up, so hold fire a little bit. By the way, there was a spelling error in the previous question I posed. I apparently put an extra A in long run average cost. And somebody was saying, is this a new concept? No, it's long run average cost. It's not long run average cost. James's answer, where firms have supernormal profits, invest in R&D, create new products, higher quality products, product innovation, process innovation. Adam gets a really good point. It's actually concerned with productive efficiency as well. So process innovation is a way of trying to drive down long-run cost. So this is where dynamic meets productive in a little bit of sense there. Here's my answer coming up. Refers to stability of an economy or market or an industry to allocate resources efficiently over time. So it's not static, it's over time, fostering innovation, technological progress, long-run productivity growth. People saying, silly mistake from you there, Geoff. I expect better. Correct. I just want to apologise to everybody in the live chat for posting the extra A in long-run average cost. By the way, I once had a plumber called Mr. Plum. There you go. But it was two M's. It was Mr. Plum. Valentina, great answer. Creative destruction is when the certain creation of new technologies destroys and replaces old technologies. That is, if Joseph Schumpeter was alive today, Valentina, he would be delighted to see you making that point. Okay, here we go. Two questions to finish with. Here we go. And then we're done. Can you give me, please, examples of markets or industries? This is application, isn't it? Where there is, you think, substantial product or process innovation. What can we come up in 60 seconds as a group? Ashwin, yeah, obviously product innovation with sandwiches, and Jacob very kindly hinting that we are destroying, or not destroying, we're creating creative destruction in textbooks. Aviation sector, yes, really good there from IBO 101. Hydrogen fuels, that kind of stuff, sustainable fuels. Jacob talking about green energy. This is quite interesting. There's loads of industries where exciting things are happening at the moment. The pharmaceutical sector is known for innovation. AstraZeneca, GSK, vaccines, all contributing to advancements. Where would we be without the fast growth of the rapid development? Adam has great points about Gillette, Coca-Cola, Cadbury's, and Sainsbury's. Nice examples there of firms which are a lot of product innovation as well as process innovation. One person asked me what my A-levels were. Well, I'm not allowed to tell you, but all I can say is I won a scholarship to read economics at Cambridge. So we'll just leave it there. I'll just leave that on the table in case anyone wants to take issue with my A-levels. I took my A-levels in 1982, so 41 years ago. Wow. Jerry talks about banking, and I've actually included that in my answer. So the rise of Monzo, Starling, Revolut. Now, there's issues to do with accounting and to do with, but here are my answers. By the way, there's loads of industries. This is where you can score really well. If they give you a market with monopoly power, profits, R&D, I'd go pharmaceutical and biotech. The success of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is testimony to this. I think the rapid platform emergence of the mRNA platform technology. Imagine Oxford AstraZeneca was a great vaccine. Just imagine how good the Cambridge AstraZeneca vaccine would have been. It must have been amazing, worth waiting for. And fintech, Revolut, Monzo, Wise, a little bit of digital banking, payment solutions. Who knows? Creative industries, that kind of stuff. A lot of people talking about creative sectors. Jacob says, Geoff, was it a Stormzy scholarship? It wasn't actually. But Stormzy, all credit to him. I'm going to Cambridge actually in a week or two's time to help a little with the launching of the foundation program there. It's unbelievable what they're doing in the next couple of years. Robbie says, what did you get in the mystery A-levels? Robbie, I'm not going to say, but I will pass on my grades to somebody that you know who's also in my tutor group. That's all I'm going to say. Last question for me today. Here we go. Oh, no, sorry. But I want to give you this bit of application. I was just thinking about this morning, and AbbVie, which is a pharmaceutical company, drug maker, the Dutch government taking them to court for price gouging, pricing for their, I think it's an anti-arthritis drug, way above marginal cost on the left-hand side there. On the other hand, Oxford developing this amazing malaria vaccine, first country to approval is Ghana, and AstraZeneca are pricing their new drugs close to marginal cost, and they said they're going to do that in perpetuity. They were priced close to marginal cost in low-income countries, and of course they'll make their money, not necessarily malaria, but other vaccines in high-income countries. Really good example of price discrimination, dynamic efficiency in action. Absolutely amazing stuff. My last question, I think, is coming up. Can you give me two policies that might drive dynamic efficiency in markets? Have a go. Yeah, some good answers. Quite a few saying corporation tax. There's not much evidence, by the way, cutting corporation tax stimulates dynamic efficiency. I think the top answers tend to focus on specific interventions, R&D tax credits, for example. I love this answer from Nikhil. Tradable pollution permits encourages firms in energy-dependent industries to reinvest in green energy, especially, Nikhil, when the price of carbon permits is, as it is, above something like 90 euros per ton of CO2. That really does act as a catalyst for companies fast forwarding their energy R&D. It's interesting. This time last week, I was listening to Joe Stiglitz at Oxford, and he was saying that he thinks the green revolution in farming, in energy, is there's a non-linearity about it. It is going to take off. It is going to take off. There's no question about it. The question is, where will it take off? Here are my ideas, my thoughts. You might want to take a screenshot. A lot of you, by the way, were linking to supply-side policies, which was super good. Supply-side policies often have a micro focus, and therefore you can use them in paper 1 as well as paper 2. Protection of IP, so having patent laws, which mean that people can both protect their IP but also benefit from it. Brexit's the name that dare not speak its name or what have you, but skilled migration of workers, creating more diverse labour force is often a driver of innovation. Investment in STEM subjects, proper funding for university science parks is important. It's quite a big one in Cambridge, I think. A lot of you talked about tax incentives for R&D, super useful there. And quite a few are really, really pleased that quite a few talked about making markets more contestable. There is quite strong evidence that that drives R&D and innovation. By the way, I'm not going to make predictions about exams. It's a mug's game. There are some YouTubers who occasionally do that to great effect, no doubt. I'm just here to hopefully teach you some economics and hopefully provide support. I'm not in that game of just, it's not about me, by the way, it's all about you. Other people might be different. Open trade liberalization can drive innovation, particularly when you get companies coming in, FDI, that are at the cutting edge of technology. Throwing a little shade there, yes, I am actually, because we're heading now into the final, that's my last slide, thanks to Jim. We're heading into the final days before the exam. By the way, I'm super proud of the group that's emerged on the Tutor collective here. I think this is the 15th live session since the start of Easter, and Johnny and Nikki did a brilliant job earlier in the week, so thanks for that when I couldn't be there. Keep working hard, keep supporting each other, just keep adding to your notes. If you've got the core material learned, just practice past papers. Don't worry too much about question spotting. We know what the core topics are. It's market failure, it's market structures, it's government intervention, it's labour markets. That's what's going to come up. It's on the spec for every exam board. The most important thing is be supportive and just be positive as best you can. Now, thinking ahead, if you have a moment now, I'm going to run 2 sessions next Tuesday. I'm away this weekend, and I always leave the Wednesday free before the exam. There's no point me doing sessions on the day before the exam. You need time to think and revise and focus and get your energy levels up. So I'll do 2 sessions on Tuesday back to back. If you want me to select a topic, post it in the comments section of the video, not the live chat. And I will do my best to see what people mention. I'll do my best to choose 2 half-an-hour topics on Tuesday. Georgina, what tips would you give people for improving economics in the long run? Wow, that's a huge issue. We are thinking about that at Tutor about what we can do to serve undergraduate students. Some of you know I'm becoming a full-time Tutor presenter in September, and we are going to be offering lots of different things to people beyond A-level. So thank you for your question, Georgina. So Tuesday, have the weekend off, work really hard, and then come back on Tuesday if you want to join us for 2 sessions. Post in the comment section what you'd like me to cover. So it's going to be micro. Then the exam's on Thursday, isn't it? And then the macro paper's on the 22nd, the following Monday. So I will offer 2 sessions on Friday on macro only, maybe on Saturday as well, but nothing on Sunday. So we'll probably do 3 or 4 sessions on macro before the macro paper. Then you take that paper. Obviously, you've got other exams as well, conscious of that. And then we have a time over half term to really smash the synoptic paper, and we will definitely do that. Jacob, it was a great pleasure. I think you met Jim at the live event, and we're super pleased to meet you and your friends, your students. Big thanks to everybody for joining in. Amazing contributions. If you found it useful, if you could press the like button, that would be super helpful for me. And subscribe, notification bell to get advance notice of what we're going to be doing on Tuesday and into next week. Most important of all, have a great weekend. Stay focused, stay happy, stay healthy, stay curious, and see you sometime soon.